Okay, Mr. Fisher, we're able to switch your flight to the 10:45 p.m. to Paris. There is a $473 fare difference. Would you still like to go ahead and rebook?
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who this beats, your girl KylerB coming at you with a new video. So today we're going to be talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty Season 3, Episode 10. Can't believe we have literally one more episode after this. But let's get right into this episode. So there was a lot of time jumps, but obviously to make this story, get everything what they need to say, this needed to happen because a lot had to go down. So we're 3 months. We start the episode with 3 months post, wedding. Failed wedding. Belly is in Paris. She's getting acclimated to the Paris life. She's able to stay there. She has her friends that she met, after the whole bag stealing situation. She's able to live with some roommates, 2 jobs, kind of, sort of, and then still do school online at Finch. So while she's doing that, it's still adjusting to Paris life. She doesn't really know French that well, but, she can say a few sentences or like order her croissant, whatever. So back in, Pennsylvania, whatever, they're doing a Friendsgiving. Steven's doing a Friendsgiving. He's with Taylor now. But Jeremiah, I guess what happened with him, he decided to drop out of school, will not do his classes online anymore, not take the job that, he did accept to take from his father. And I guess the apartment that he was supposed to live in, that after he got married to Belly, he decided not to get that apartment. So he let all those things go down the drain. So then he had to basically stay with Steven. But what turned to be like a couple of weeks turned into like, months. He living with Steven. So Steven having Friendsgiving, he invited basically people from their work life, whatever. Adam shows up. While this is happening, Jeremiah so-called kind of moves on. Like he's kissing some other girl in Steven's house. But Redbird basically said that, he thought that Jeremiah would have come by the dorm or the frat house or whatever. But to Adam's surprise, Adam didn't know Jeremiah basically stopped going back to school, stopped going back to Finch. He basically is letting things go down the drain. Adam thinking that he paying for school for somebody to go there, and it's like his money's going to waste. So he takes has a discussion with Jeremiah about the situation. I mean, of course, because I'm just like, you're literally wasting his money. You had to do another semester, and then fraternities, whatever, that is costly as well. So it's like, okay, you're not taking the job I give you, you're not at the frat house, you're not at the apartment, your credit is bad, so what are you doing? So anyways, he decided to cut him off because it's just like, okay, well, what are you really doing for life? You're basically kind of like a bum, essentially. So he tries to complain about his father. He's like, oh, well, since you cut me off, I don't have to talk to you anymore. So, he tells that to Steven and Taylor. Taylor and Steven were just like, yeah, you kind of are a bum. So, but Denise was right there. So he basically asked Denise, hey, can I stay with you? And she's like, 1 week. But obviously we know how that's gonna go. That's gonna go 1 week to some months or whatever. So Steven, and Taylor got him off from living with him. In this episode, they were real strict about that no shoe policy in the house. So, which I'm like, let's clock it. No shoes in the house. Don't track them that dirty shoes in the house. You seeing TV shows where people have shoes on the bed or in the bedroom. No. What are we doing? But it was take your shoes off. Take your shoes off. So while we're still at Thanksgiving, Conrad is still in California. So he talks to Laurel. Basically, says how's everybody? He wants to talk to Belly, but he hasn't reached out yet. So I guess Laurel kind of gave him the advice to reach out to her. So he decided to write to Belly. So he writes Belly, I think in Thanksgiving. It started in Thanksgiving. And he wrote her a letter. It got sent to Paris, whatever. So fast forward to Christmas time. Belly did not come home for Christmas. She's still in Paris for Christmas. While this is happening, Laurel's having everybody over for Christmas at the cousin's beach house. So Jeremiah was supposed to come back. Conrad, he's like playing video games with Steven, but like it's kind of giving awkward because, Steven is like so close with Jeremiah at this point, and just like, okay, well, they're trying to have a conversation, and it's just like, well, Jeremiah's mad at Conrad still, Steven's in the middle of it, and I guess he's more closer with Jeremiah, so he's kind of feeling like some type of way. Jeremiah's supposed to show up. He decides to stay in the car, not come out. Laurel meets him. He does apologize or says sorry for how he was feeling, like speaking to her after the wedding situation. He just said he wasn't ready yet to face Conrad and I guess Adam and whatever. While this happened, Adam shows up and he basically found out about, Denise and Steven basically creating a business behind Adam's back. So he's like, the company that was supposed to sponsor their, company, they like backed out of funding. So when Steven found out, he was like, freaking out, but Adam popped out. So he's like, oh, you weren't just like freaking out about this situation. So, but Adam was like, oh, it's cool. Like no bad blood. Like you can still come to work, you're not fired. But then Steven turned around and was just like, yeah, I rather quit. I quit. So I'm like, I don't know what Steven's gonna do. I mean, I don't know if he has a job on the side. He can easily find a job this quick because, obviously he's very smart, whatever. But he stopped. He's like done working for Adam. Anyways, Christmas in Paris for Belly. She's having Paris, having fun in Paris alone, listening to all the Christmas classics. She FaceTimes with, Taylor, invites Taylor over for the holidays. Why don't you come to Paris? Da da da. Next, Benito shows up and she's like having a little fun with Benito, kind of like, showing that little love interest with Benito, essentially. We see Taylor in Paris for, after Christmas into the New Year's, or decide to have a party. And, while they're having this this New Year's party, Benito's here. They find out that Conrad sent, a package. So they're like, oh, Conrad sent a package. So they opened it. It's basically so Taylor opens the package. It's basically the letter, the stuffed animal with the affinity necklace, and Sour Patch Kids. So that was in the box for, Christmas / New Year's for Belly. So, Belly was just like trying to say like, these are not love letters. These are just basically basic love, regular letters. And she hasn't written Conrad back yet. So, all this, while this is happening in New Year's, Taylor gives Belly the pep talk, you should not be scared of basically trying something new with somebody else because of being fearful of hurting somebody. Like that's going to be inevitable. So while this is happening, Belly decides to kiss Benito at the start of the new year for the New Year's kiss. Yeah, so Belly kisses Benito. Before this even happened, she texts Jeremiah Merry Christmas because the last time they ever spoke was obviously for the wedding situation. So she texted him Merry Christmas. He never called back. He called back. They had a little conversation. He's working as a busboy, obviously he has to find a job, do something. So he's like doing a little bit better after the whole wedding situation. I mean, even in this episode, he was like, oh, losing Belly is like almost worse than losing Susanna, which is like really crazy to say. But he was very dependent on Belly. Like he was very dependent on Belly and his father and basically everybody in his life. So now he has to basically start from scratch and like build himself from the ground up as well. So anyways, back to the Benito kiss with Belly. Belly and Benito are basically, dating casually, whatever. So we jump into March, April, kind of, sort of, where Belly's like lease with roommates are basically expiring, and also that she's done with school, so she's like, okay, she has to come back to Finch for graduation. So it's just like, she's thinking about whether she should come back. But then you have Gemma, who's packing up her apartment. She decides to move in, and she has the apartment like ready for somebody else. So she asks, Belly, like, why don't you come to the apartment? Why don't you stay in Paris? Like, you could stay in Paris. You don't have to go back if you don't feel like it yet. So she calls Laura up, basically says like, would you be upset if I decide to stay in Paris a little bit longer? It's a year lease. Gemma's giving up her place, if I enroll in school here and do their sports program here, I get my student visa, da 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 da. So she's telling Laura. Laura's just like, you know what, that's fine. Like, I would rather have you here, but if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. So, Laurel was fine with it. So Belly now has her own apartment now in Paris. She's still getting mail from, Conrad. She actually did write Conrad back.
Dear Conrad, I never thanked you for sending me Junior Mint. So, thank you. And thank you for all your letters. It's sweet of you to think of me. I finally found a permanent apartment. This is my new address. Hope you're well.
I think, and this is April now, this is like Susanna's 5th year death anniversary. So, Conrad came to the gravesite, and while he's at the gravesite, Jeremiah is also at the gravesite. So while this is happening, this is like basically the first time in months they interacted with each other. So, they interacted, had like hashed it out. Conrad basically told Jeremiah, like, Belly wasn't a toy, like, you couldn't just, she's not an object, you didn't have her, da 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 da.
You wanted Belly back, so you found a way to take her.
You can't take someone, Jer. She's not a fucking object. And the only reason that there was any wedding to break up was because you were afraid of losing her. As if a ring could make someone yours.
Jeremiah is like saying, like, you know what? And like he was treating Belly like an object or whatever. And then he said to Conrad that, go, like, I'm not okay with it, but if you have your chance now to be with Belly or whatever, take your shot or whatever. Don't waste it. Don't like mess it up. So, they hash it out. They're back to being brothers again. He said, like, when things went awry with Belly, like, he wanted to talk to Xana, and then he also wanted to talk to his brother, but obviously he was mad at Conrad at this point in time, so he couldn't talk to Conrad. So we're moving along, like, he's on cool terms, like okay terms, not the best of terms with Jeremiah. Conrad has, like, kind of sort of the blessing from Jeremiah that he should pursue Belly now. Back to California, Agnes shows up, and like, basically Conrad's back into the medical program with the doctor that kicked him out in like episode 2 or 3, whatever. So she invited him to go to Germany, Brussels, for like a program, whatever. So Agnes was like, oh, Paris is like an hour and a half train ride. Like, we're gonna switch a trip. So we come to find out that Conrad has the postcard that Belly sent him in his wallet. I mean, even though it was like basically a generic, like, kind of sort of like very lighthearted like message, Agnes was like, you would have regretted not going, and you probably would regret it, going as well. So he's getting ready to go to this program. He decides to switch his ticket to Paris, the 10:45 to Paris. So this is basically, now we're in the summer, like this is like early June, almost till Belly's birthday. So Belly's still in Paris, like she's living her Paris life, like living it up, I'll tell you, okay? So it's almost her birthday. She goes to the hair salon, basically in French. Like in the beginning of the episode, her French was like bad, or basically like very like rusty. Like it was like, okay, people are gonna answer you in English. But she was able to hold a conversation in French. Like, she was living it up. She's like, for her birthday, she wants something new, something different.
Ce week-end pour ton anniversaire. Des amis ont prévu un petit dîner pour moi. Oh, ça a l'air sympa et cosy.
So it's giving that Belly's gonna have a bob for her birthday, or she's gonna have some color, some highlights, something like that. Something new. So she's gonna switch it up. Conrad's on his way to Paris, so it's going to be a BellyConrad reunion in episode 11, so can't wait to see what happens there. But this was like, the time jumps was like very much needed to happen, because it wouldn't be right for like, okay, after the wedding, okay, Belly and Conrad reunite and everything's good again. Like, it needed time for everybody to like, settle down, start looking, like, finding themselves. Like, it was nice for Jeremiah to like, find himself, essentially, work for himself, find a job, be independent. And I feel like this is the first time we actually know what Jeremiah wants to do with his life. Like, he was gonna follow in his father's footsteps and like work in his father's company. But now it seems like in this episode, we find out that he really likes to cook. He likes to cook a lot of foods. Like, he basically helped cook the Thanksgiving dinner. He's working as a busboy. I feel like in his future, being a chef would be in his future. more than likely. Belly, she's gonna, you know, be in sports management because obviously her injury from the volleyball. So she's looking into sports management, and then we have Conrad wanting to be a doctor. So I mean, everybody's finding themselves in the sense in the word. Like Belly, she's obviously very confident now in herself after almost a year in Paris, because she didn't get to Paris until like late August, early September. So like literally, it's almost been a year in Paris. So Belly is very more confident in herself. She's basically finding herself. She wants to switch it up for her birthday. She's going to be 22 now, I believe. So, I mean, I can't wait to see what episode 11 holds. Like, I'm ready for the BellyConrad reunion. But anyway, guys, if you guys like the video, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Peace.